Now let's talk about the genetic modification of plant starches for different food applications, particularly the starches that are used in industry for various purposes. As you might be aware that the starches are generally used in food industry, paper industry, pharmaceuticals, and it is even used in the construction industry as well. So there are a lot of application of starches, and biotechnology is one of the very important science that can change the structure and function of these starches which are produced by most of the crops. So let's talk about this journey of biotechnology, how it has actually helped in production of different functional starches. So if we talk about the history or the different kinds of starches which are developed by plant breeding or other selective methods, even before the advent of biotechnology, so this practice has already been there, and we had seen a lot of different variants of different starches within food, different mutations, desirable mutants that have got their found their application in food industry and other industries as well. And it was even before, even when the genes were known, or even before then the biotechnology was known. So this has been a continuous practice adopted by early histories as well. But once we know the importance of biotechnology, and now we understand the role of different genes and alleles and different isomers and the role of different enzymes, it is better understood than before. But it is not the only, I would say, intervention that has happened in this area. The different kind of starches were already known. They have been bred by different scientists and other people, and they have found different application in different industry. For example, as I said that initially, before we knew anything about genes or allele or DNA even, there were different kinds of mutants known, such as Vexy or amylose extender or dulse shrunken or sugary. As the name suggests that these type of starches are based upon, the names are based upon the kind of phenotypes of different seeds, and then they are now we can relate these different phenotypic expressions, uh, whether they are due to certain genetic changes or whether they are due to certain change in enzymes or different isomers of enzymes which are responsible. We can also relate this with the allelic dosage or interaction with other mutations as well. So this is by now, even though it is still a very complex area, whether it comes to understanding of starches or whether it comes to the understanding of different complex mechanisms that are involved to produce this kind of starches. So if we talk about these maize kernels, and if we look at the phenotypes that has been actually observed uh, phenotypically, they can be related with different enzymes for starch synthesis. So once we know the different kind of starches are there, then we can relate that there were different kinds of enzymes which are responsible for certain desirable or different phenotypes that can be observed in these plants. So we can see that there are different mutations that do occur naturally during the course of production of different crops as well, and these mutations produce different kind of phenotypes in these crops, particularly in corn as well. So we can see different grain structure or grain sizes, etc. We also know that there can be different isomers of enzymes, because we know that there are different enzymes which are responsible for change in the structure or chemistry of these starches. So these enzymes could have different isomers as well, and those isomers can have a different impact on the overall uh, chemistry or the structure of these starches which are produced in these mutants. So through genetic engineering or through the modern biotechnology practices, we can know it is very much known that we can modify or engineer different starch synthesis enzymes, and we can actually fine tune these enzymes so that we can bring about desirable changes in the end product. So this has generated a lot of opportunities, because now we can work more focused. We can use focused approaches to produce actually kind of phenotypic expression within these plant seeds or kernels. So we are not actually crudely controlling enzyme activity here. We can precisely look at the expression of different enzymes and their activities, and that can be the technology that is used, which is RNAi technology or antisense technology. This is very much effective in the modern biotechnology approaches. Similarly, as I said, most of the development has already happened due to these breeding practices. But other than breeding, these new technologies, biotechnology especially, we can overexpress certain genes as well, which is not possible in the traditional plant breeding. So we can actually even produce certain isomers of enzymes that connect synergistically with other enzymes already present within these crops, and they can produce desirable starches or the desirable starch chemistry in most of the plants. So we also know that the sequencing of different homologous genes which are present in different plants, so these can be taken from other plants and introduced into the plant in which we want to make these genetic changes particularly. So as you would appreciate that this is a very important opportunity because we know that there might be different genes present in different plants. They can have different functions. They can be taken from one plant. They can insert it into another plant to bring about the desirable modification of different enzymes, and that change in enzymes can actually lead to the change in desirable chemistry in the starch synthesis. So most of the this starch is, as you know, that is very abundantly used chemical in the food industry as well as in other industry, as I said, in paper industry or textile industry, pharmaceutical industry as well. So this is highly novel area of research in which we can produce different kind of starches having a variety of different applications. So the opportunities are limitless because the applications are limitless. There are so many number of plants in which have got starch as a major end product. And then these starches would have a lot of application in different industries for all different reasons. So they can be modified accordingly. So it is, I would say, there are limitless opportunities in this area particularly. But we are also limited in many things. For example, because these complex mechanisms are not very well understood on one hand, and on the other hand, the role of these modified starches, their functional properties, or even they are not very well understood at this stage as well. So these are apparently limitations at this time, but again, as I said, these limitations can be overcome if we can work very good focus and produce desirable end products. So now I would take you to the summary of different enzymes which are known, especially different enzymes. They have got specific isomers, and then they have different mutants. For example, if we take this example of granule-based bound starch synthesis, GBSSI as it would be said in short. So that is producing a mutant in maize. It is called as VEXI, or in short we write it WX. The effect on the starches, it would produce starch with low amylase content. So this is one of the very important known enzyme that we know it produces mutants, and we know the outcome of this kind of enzyme activity on the starch, that it would have lower amylose content. If we talk about the other starch, soluble starch synthase, for example, SS1 or SS2, these are again the SS1 produce mutant which are not known yet. We don't know what would be the effect on the starch synthesis. But if we talk about this SS2, especially here, so that would produce a kind of mutant which is known as sugary 2 or SU2. We know the chemistry, the effect of this mutation, that it would produce the kind of amylopectin that would be lacking intermediate glucan chains in those amylopectin. So we understand what would be the effect of these mutations on the starch synthesis. The next known enzyme is again SS3. Would produce a mutant called as DUL1, or in short DU. It lacks longer glucan chain in amylopectin, so they are not longer chain in the amylopectin. It would be comparatively shorter chains in this modified starch. Another one is SS4. Again, we don't know anything about what mutants are available and what would be the effect on the starches. Now, if we talk about the branching enzymes, they can be classified as BE1 or BE2B. The BE1 produces a mutant known as BE1 again, written like BE1 again. We don't know the effect, or there are minimal effect on starch synthesis. The BE2B is actually more important. It produces a non-mutant amylose extender that has got high amylose content. So we can actually produce this desirable. This is one of the very important mutant that is known, and that has got many application in the industry as well. So the next class is debranching enzymes that are there in the amylopectin. Particularly it is called as ISA 1, 2, 3, or these are, ISA 1 is important because it produces sugary 1, SU1, this mutant, and we know that it forms compound granules and phytoglycogens. So the effect on the ultimate starch that is produced by sugary 1, we know that it would have got compound granules and phytoglycogen, they are produced. The ISA2, ISA3, they are not known what kind of mutant they would produce, or what would be the effect on the starch. They are not fully discovered properly yet, their functions. The next is PU1, glulonase 1 or PU1. Again, we are not much aware of the effect of these enzymes on the starch that is produced at the end. So this is a summary actually of all different enzymes, their effect, which are known or not known yet, about how we modify different plant starches for application in food industry.